Welcome to a new edition of the Power Talks for Remarkable Females. Today we are going to talk about financial freedom. I have a confession to make. I always had this limiting belief that I am not good with numbers. And so there's a lot of consequences on that limiting belief. Basically, the first one is that I don't like to do my accounting. And I'm not really interested in financial markets and options and everything that is investment, which is not a very good thing in general if you are working at your financial freedom. Luckily, there's other means. Another thing that I notice is that a lot of women feel that they really don't need to do this. They have a husband taking care of this, or maybe they just have their savings somewhere. And I have understood from many of my friends and people that I know that went through a divorce that also was not a really good strategy. So, welcome. If you're looking for financial freedom, then this is your place to be. I am thrilled to be here with Monick Halm. And women professionals and entrepreneurs hire Monick Halm to build wealth in real estate and enjoy life more because they're sick and tired of having to trade their time for money, not knowing who to trust, and feeling lost and alone on the journey. So, Monique helps them invest in real estate to create passive income streams and time freedom in a pleasurable and feminine way. Bottom line, she helps you increase your net worth by at least $1 million dollars within 2 years or less, guaranteed. That's a promise. Monique is the founder of Real Estate Investor Goddesses. She's an educator and advocate for female real estate investors and has a mission to help 1 million women achieve financial freedom through real estate. Monique herself is a real estate investor and syndicator and owns, together with her investors, over 1,000 residential doors and industrial assets across 15 states. Wow, Monique, that's impressive. Welcome. I am thrilled to have you here on our show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. It's an
Mm, I can't wait to hear from your experience and your insight and your awareness. The story I just told about my limiting beliefs on numbers is true. It's absolutely true. And I am not really focused on investment. And I'm so happy because I'm also so committed to start doing that. And so this is the right place to be here, like in the front line with you. What would you like to start with? Why is it so important for us to be or become invested and interested in investments and making sure that your financial freedom is organized?
Yeah, such a great question. And I definitely want to come back to the limiting beliefs because that is such a huge part of the story. But
Mm,
why is this important for women? I'll I'll answer by just sharing my story briefly. I did not start my life trying to be an investor. I was taught that to be happy and wealthy, you go to school and then you become a doctor, a lawyer, professor, engineer, one of those highly paid professionals working for someone else. And I became a lawyer. I was working in a corporate law firm, partnership track, and I was absolutely miserable. I really hated my job. That is another, story for a
that's not
different
a power
day.
talk.
That's another story. But all I'd been taught was you trade your time for money. You trade as your time for as much money as possible, but it's always trading your time for money. And I think of financial security like a table. And each leg of your table is a stream of income. And most of us are taught to have one leg under our table, which is our job,
Mm,
which is good enough while you have this job. And if you have a really good paying job, then you have a nice thick leg, right?
mm,
But what happens if you're sick or you're fired or you have to take care of a sick family member? There goes your table crashing down.
mm, mm,
Even if you have two, oh, we're a two income family. I have a job, my spouse has a job, one of you loses, right? Or I have three jobs, but they're all reliant on you. So if anything happens, there goes your table.
mm,
So to have real financial security, and then ultimately financial freedom, you want multiple legs under your table, most of them passive, which means that it's not reliant on you trading your time for money. If you're
Mhm.
not part of that equation, it's still you're still the income streams are still there.
Mhm.
So when I was 8 months pregnant, no, I was 5 months pregnant, and I told my boss the week before. I was working as a lawyer still then. I told him the week before that I was expecting. He called me in. I thought he was going to tell me I was getting a bonus because I'd been working so hard, or we were going to talk about maternity benefits. Instead, I got fired.
My God. Mm.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was right. I thought, all right, I'm just going to wait until after I give birth, take a short maternity leave, and then I will look for another job. My daughter was born in late August of 2008. A month after her birth, the markets in the US were in free fall. Nobody was hiring. Terrible time to look for a job. My husband's graphic design business fell 90%. It was dire. And
Mm.
a lot of and much of our savings we'd been using because I hadn't been working for several months before I gave birth. So luckily we had some real estate, and we sold one property and we started flipping properties and making money, and that helped save us. But and I had a high paying job. I was a lawyer, but our table came crashing down
Mhm.
because we didn't have those legs. So that's
Yeah.
why I think it's so important for all of us, especially women, to have that table, right? So that when there's a crisis, life happens because life happens,
Exactly.
right? People
Mhm.
get sick, people get fired, there's an accident, there's a death, there's things happen, life happens. You don't want your table crashing down.
Mm.
And the thing
Absolutely.
about yeah, and about real estate is that once you have a tenant that's there and they're paying rent, after your expenses, what comes is passive cash flow. You're going to get this cash flow whether you are working another job, whether you're on vacation, whether you're sleeping, whether you're sick, it doesn't matter. That check will come, or the
Yeah.
money comes into that account month
Yeah.
after month.
Absolutely.
And
Can I ask something also, Monique? Because
yes,
you're talking about this is very important to do in order to have the security when things go bad in terms of
yes,
job or your health or whatever. I would
okay.
also like to think that if you can really build these passive income streams, that you can do a lot more than work, that you can reduce your professional hours, that you can travel more, that you can enjoy more, that you can spend more time with the children or spend more time to your hobbies or start painting because you have been dreaming of that for years. So it's not only for when bad things happen, but it's also in order to be able to organize a different life, right?
Absolutely. So today, July 1st, is Financial Freedom Day in the US. And
Okay.
I consider financial freedom when your passive income streams equals or exceeds your expenses. At that point, when your expenses are paid for without you having to trade your time for money, then you work because you want to, not
Hmm.
because you have to.
Yeah.
At that point, you have the ability to, yeah, to I think this is why I'm so passionate about helping women do this, is now that money is no longer an excuse for you fully sharing your gifts and talents with the world. Why
Hmm.
you were born, what you were placed on this planet to do, be, and have. The money is no longer the issue. Now you just get to share. And what happens with women when they have any extra? And they've shown this again and again. So this is not the same with men, where women are not just smaller, less hairy men. We're different on a chromosomal levels. Our brains are actually wired differently. We have connections between the hemispheres that men don't have. We're and that those differences in our brain, in our biology, actually affects how we show up to money and how we show up to investing and how we react with money. And
Hmm.
one of the differences is that when we have more, then we're wired to give back. We give back to our families, we give back to our communities, we give back to the world. So for me,
Absolutely.
helping women invest is my shortcut for helping everybody.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And it's absolutely true. I know some women that have extremely successful businesses and they just and they show it. And I think it's a very good thing because it's also very inspirational.
Yeah.
They are supporting young women in South Africa or in Africa in general. They are supporting schools, they are sponsoring hospitals. It's
Hmm.
just amazing. And I think this is absolutely something that is typically for women. They give back in one way or another. Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
They've shown a lot
Also
of
being mm,
studies where they do these micro loans in different countries, and when they give it to men, which is the men will usually spend it. They'll spend it on themselves or alcohol and cigarettes, prostitutes. Like it
mhm.
gets spent. When
Yeah,
they give it to women, the women use it to educate their kids. They hire their neighbors and friends. They completely transform the communities.
yeah,
And they've shown this over and over again. If you
yeah,
empower women financially, you empower everybody because a woman will empower everyone around her.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. As a note, you don't need to be extremely successful and extremely wealthy in order to do that. I
No,
work together with Buy One Give One, b1g1.com, and that is a platform that has all these projects running. And whenever somebody buys a program with me or joins me for a retreat or whatever, I also work via B1G1 to sponsor a
mm,
woman in Kenya to get a 10-day business education and a microcredit to start her own business. And
I love
so
that.
I just wanted to say that because it's so important also to use this platform and this channel to inspire women to do something for somebody else, even if they're not like earning tons of money or having massive passive income streams. There are possibilities to do that in another way and to give back even when you are in a different situation. And I think that is beautiful. And thanks for bringing that up because it is so relevant and so important in this realm. Yeah.
It is. It is.
Contributes to
So,
humanity. I love it. Mm.
yeah.
Yeah. So, Monique, why real estate if you want to build these passive income streams?
There are a variety of reasons why I'm a particular fan of real estate. Now, I think that I'm a fan of diversification, so I wouldn't say that you should only have real estate as your only pathway. But as a main pathway, it's a great one. For millennia, real estate has been the main way that wealth has been created and transferred through generations.
Mhm.
And especially today, as I look at my daughter, I'm very proud of her. She won this her school science fair this year, and she had created an artificial intelligence. She created a GPT, a custom GPT, to help breast cancer patients get personalized treatment plans. So
Oh.
that you could, and it has hundreds of peer-reviewed studies. You put in the patient's information, their age, their race, their weight, and it looks and it says, okay, here's this detailed treatment plan, this types of things, and this food and this exercise, and with links
Oh.
to the studies that support all the
Mhm.
advice it gave. Incredible, incredible thing that she was able to create. And I was like, wow. As she was doing that, I thought, that's unbelievable. And also, that seems like it would be bad for jobs, right? As you're looking at AI, there's like millions of jobs will be because this 15-year-old girl is able to create this treatment. Not that it's going to, not that I would say do this without a doctor, but
Mhm.
you have this kind of technology that can do that. And then you have, imagine there's a surgeon, a robot surgeon that has like this type of information,
Exactly.
can see and do, like, it's incredible. They estimate over 50% of medical jobs will be displaced, 78% legal jobs. There's so much that will be displaced. The one thing that you AI cannot ever displace is the need for us to have a roof over our heads,
Yeah.
shelter, land, like a place to work and live and actually walk, all right, on the earth. They can't, like, there's invest in earth. They're not making anymore.
Yeah.
This is something that cannot be replaced.
Mhm.
And again, like with when we're talking about having that table, we don't know what's going to happen with all the various jobs. I think new things will be created, but there's displacement. But real estate is a sturdy, stable for
Mhm.
millennia asset class that is not going anywhere. It just can't.
Yeah.
And then there are, I don't know, different countries have different ways of doing it. In the US, there are incredible tax benefits for owning real estate. Oftentimes, because of the way the tax code is structured, you're making money, but for tax purposes, you're losing money. So you're paying less taxes. Because wealth is not just what you make, it's what you get to keep. You have to
Mhm.
keep a lot more when you have real estate. It's a feel good win business because as part of my mission and at Real Estate Investor Goddesses, it's our mission. We want to invest where we can make a property in a community better than we found it.
Mhm.
And when you have that philosophy, it's not about being a slumlord. It's not about taking every dollar out of a deal. When you really show up to improve situations for the tenants, for parties, but plus it also there's this ripple effect of prosperity. The buyer and the seller profit, the agents, the insurance, the contracts, the local hardware store, the lawyers and the lenders and the banks. There's this ripple effect of prosperity every time there's a deal. And that
Mhm.
feels it's such a feel good business.
Yeah.
There are a bunch of other benefits, but I think because of its stability, because of its ability to be used to leave a legacy, because 90% of millionaires become so through real estate for these reasons, I think it's such an important asset class for everyone to invest in if they
Yeah.
can. And they can.
Beautiful. How does one start? And as you say, I know legislation and taxation is very different in every country. A lot of the people listening in here or watching this are from Europe, so there might be very important differences. But how does one start? First of all, there's owning your own house. That's something that is a very important one, and especially in Europe, is considered as a very important investment also. Although there's a lot of
I
other
wanna talk
theories
about that
around
one
that.
'cause
Yeah, I know.
that's an interest that's something that I actually disagree with as
I knew
in
you were going
terms
to
of, like,
say
the
that because I also have
investment.
a different opinion. But
Yeah.
we are, for example, I'm from Belgium. We are called to be born with a brick in our stomach. Like we have to own a house and as soon as possible, and we would do crazy things for it. But then, yes, please give me your opinion because I don't really agree with that either. But it's a delicate thing to discuss in, especially in Belgium. So yes, let me know how you look at
Yeah.
that.
And it's not that I don't think that owning a house is important, but owning your own house is not a leg under your table.
Mm,
So, it's not creating passive income streams. So, if it's an investment property is creating those legs. So a lot of times people think, okay, yeah, I'm going to invest. I'm going to buy my own house. So I consider an investment a leg. It's giving
mm,
you income every month. A house that
yeah,
you're living in that no one else is giving you income for, it's taking money out. It's an expense. It's a
yeah.
liability every month unless you are, doing something. So for me, when I bought my first property, it was in LA. It was very expensive, so I couldn't afford to just buy a house to live in by myself, and I ended up buying a small multi-unit. I lived in one unit, I rented out the other units. So that was how I managed to buy. I That's all I'd been taught too, is just to buy a house. That was the only thing
Mm,
I knew about real estate. You should buy a house to live in. And it was this happy accident that my house became a leg under my table. And I
mm,
just did that so I could buy the house. But
yeah,
as I've seen the power of having those legs and the need and the necessity to have that stability. I think sometimes it's better if you can't do both, you buy a property that's providing that income, and then you might still rent, but your property is providing income, or you have a property, but you're renting out parts of your property. Maybe
yeah.
you're renting out the room or you're doing different things. And then from your overflow from the investment income, then you buy those liability properties that are taking money out every month instead of
Mm.
putting money back into your bank.
So if people have the funding available for one house, you
Mhm.
would advise them to buy a house to invest and to rent it out rather than to buy a house for themselves first.
Maybe.
Mm,
So, real estate investing is not one size fits all.
mm,
And I will never say, yeah, you need to do this.
mm,
Because what's important is, so you were asking before, you asked, how do you get started? And my question is, to get started, you figure out, where do you want to end up? What's your end goal? And that will let you know how you get started. And I look at it like, if you're metaphor, you're going to go on vacation and you're saying, I'm going on vacation. What's my first step? I'm going to ask you, where are you going?
mm,
Because if you are going to travel to the next town over, if you're going to travel to Australia or Antarctica, that's going to be a very different next step,
mm.
right? Our first next step.
Yeah.
Then if you're is a, oh, I'm going to go, you're near Malaga, say, yeah, I'm going to Madrid or I'm
Mm.
going to Tarifa. Those are different. Yeah, you're going to have a different next step. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
So that's the first. So with real estate, what's your next step? Is your next step to be able to replace your job or your business? Or to, I know a lot of people listening here are entrepreneurs. Maybe sometimes you're dealing with the feast and famine of early entrepreneurship and you want something stable. Is that what you're trying to do to get enough legs so that you can remove the one leg that's your job? Maybe
Mm,
that's one thing. Is your for if you live in a place with a wonderful tax benefits, maybe your end goal is to lower your tax burden. Maybe your end goal is to leave a legacy so that it's for your family or for your community, your school. You want, like, ultimately, I want a building at the school with my name on it, or
mm,
I want to be able to set my great grandchildren up, or whatever. What's the end goal?
mm.
That will it will determine what steps you're going to take,
Yeah.
because some of those are different. And
Mm,
then you want to ask, we're back to our vacation. How are we going to journey? Or is it a road trip? Are we on a cruise? Are we on a bicycle? Are we flying? How are we doing this trip? Uh, in in real estate, there are a lot of different ways to journey. There are a lot of different ways. So people just think of it as, oh, I'm going to get a house and I'm going to put in a tenant. I'm going to self manage this house. And that's what they can imagine. Or I'm going to buy a house, fix it up, flip it, and that's it. But every type of property that's there, somebody can really own it, from farmland, hotels, resorts, street centers, office buildings. I do a lot of industrial, so we have warehouses and factories, and there's a lot of different types of property. And if
mhm,
you can stand in it, you can own it. And there are a lot of different ways of investing in those properties. So sometimes you can just, like a bank, be like the bank and just own the debt on the property, the note. You can do ground up development. You can buy and hold, you can flip it. There's a lot of different
mhm,
strategies and a lot of different asset classes. So it's just finding out how you want to play, what you love to do. You may want to invest, but you don't ever want to deal with tenants. You can invest that way. And then also figuring out what your resources are. There are 5 resources you need to invest in real estate. You need money, you need time, you need relationships, you need experience, and education.
mm.
But
Yeah.
if you don't have all of that by yourself, you can partner with others who do. You're never limited, but you can, maybe you have more time, somebody has the money, and you
Mm,
can partner to do the deal. Or you have relationships and I'm putting these people and that people and I'm going to get a piece and then they're going to, so there's no limit to what you can do, be, and have. It's just figuring out, where do I want to end up? What do I
yeah.
have now? How do I want to play in this game? And then getting a plan.
I really like it. I guess that a lot of people think more about how to plan their holidays then what is their end destination in terms of finance or legacy or what they want to have in that area. It's very interesting. And I really hope that this is also for some people like a wake-up call. Think about these things. This is really important. And I
Yeah.
love the variation because the way you make it sound, especially when you say, okay, there's different real estate that you can invest in, and there's also different ways that you can invest. It feels like an entrepreneurial experience. It's not
It's
like
very
something very, I always say, rather boring than to find an apartment or find a house and buy it and then look for a tenant and then have all the administrative things. It doesn't really look very or sound very interesting as such. But the way that you put it, it is about putting together all the pieces. And also, it's offering a lot of opportunities because people might say, I don't have that money, or I don't have that experience, or I don't have that education. But finding other people that can, like you say, bring together everything to the table that is needed for such a project must be amazing. Then, of
yeah.
course, my question is, how do you do that? How do you find those people?
For your team,
Exactly.
it depends on who you need and how. There are different ways. But before we do all of that, any of that, I want to talk about something that we started with, which was
Mhm.
limiting beliefs. The six Tony Robbins says that success is 20% strategy, 80% psychology.
Mhm.
I actually think it's more like 95% is what's happening between your ears. So one of the things that we focus on in my program is that mindset piece,
Mhm.
because I said that men and women are wired differently for towards investing and money. One
Mhm.
of the one of the big differences is for men, they see investing as this challenge or a game. For women, it's a threat often, right? So it brings up fears. And we often have these different things that we just different beliefs that we've come up with as kids. And for a long time, I had one that was like, oh, money was very stressful to deal with. And I would bring in money, but I would spend it as soon as it came in. So I would come in and phew, out it went. And I would just spend. I could never save.
Mhm.
And just I had to do this very deep work to look at what are those beliefs, what are those limits that I have here, and how do I get past those? Because if you have a I'm not good with money, or there's this belief that it's going to be really hard, or if I have to be a landlord, landlords are bad people, they evict people. I'm not a bad
Mhm.
person, I don't want to evict people. I don't If you have any of that, you're not going to do the steps that it takes to do it. And so that kind of like, dealing with those limiting beliefs is very fundamental and crucial, so we don't get in our own way. But once you're in the game, having the right team is a I teach this wealthy formula. So it's 7 parts. So the W is the each letter of wealthy stands for one of the parts. W is womanly. So that is how do we do this from the feminine, which is this goddess secret sauce. It's pleasure, it's intuition, it's mindset, and it's sisterhood. Then
Mhm.
there's education, E. E is for education because what you don't know can hurt you. And real estate, it does requires, especially depending on what you're doing, some specialized education, specialized knowledge. A is assets, so understanding the different things you can invest in and how, and also asset protection, so that you get to keep what you bought from as protection from um, taxes and litigation liability. L is location, so understanding where to buy. That makes sense. Certain places you buy are not going to make you money. Other places are, you almost can't help but make money. You can have a little closet. People will pay lots of money to live there. T is your team, which is real estate is a team sport. You do need people, and there are a lot of strategies for how you find the right people. Everything from going to different network, the real estate investor association groups, tapping into other investors. Referrals is definitely one of the best ways. And once you find a good people, A players tend to work with other A players. I also teach this thing on the 3 C's, like how do you evaluate the right team members? So that's TH is how you pay. There are a lot of different ways to finance deals, and many of which are creative. And it's not just going to a bank and getting a loan or having to pay all cash. There are different ways. And then the why is you, because it's not one size fits all. So how do you create that unique
Mm.
plan that is looking at where do you want to go? How do you want to get there? What resources do you have? And how do you become creative to bridge the gap? So that's the
Wonderful.
wealthy formula that
I love it.
I
Yeah.
teach.
But you're talking about a program. Does that mean that you are also teaching this, that people can
I
like
do,
take it?
yeah.
Tell
Uh-huh.
me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so we have the Millionaire Real Estate Investor Goddess program, which, as you said at the beginning, we teach you how to not just teach you, we help you to increase your net worth by $1 million and have 100,000 of revenue within a 2 years or less guaranteed. And how we guarantee that is it's 87.5% risk reverse. So it has there as you get results, it's not a money back guarantee, it's a results first guarantee. So
Mm.
as your income and your net worth increase, then there are success payments, and then you're paying for the
Yeah.
program as you do that. So you're not paying until you get to that, until you hit those milestones and you get those results. But during this program, we teach that wealthy formula. We help you create a plan to get to that million as fast
Mhm.
as possible in the way you want to do it,
Yeah.
and then give you the skills, the accountability, and the support to execute on that plan.
Mm. Beautiful. So if people are interested in that, they can find more information about that on your LinkedIn profile, for example. Is that a place where they can find out more?
Probably the best place is to go to my website,
Mhm.
reigoddesses.com.
Can you put it in the chat, Monique? I will also make
Sure.
sure it is in the comments below if you are watching the replay, so you can find out more if you are interested.
All right, let's try to.
There you go. Wonderful. Okay. So tell me a little bit more about, do you have some anecdotes on what you experience when women connect with you in order to join your program or start investing, and the limiting beliefs that you experience and how you work with that? Can you give us some, of course,
Yeah.
anonymous stories?
One of my favorites is one of my goddesses, Jamie. So she had come to an event that I was doing, a 3-day live event in Los Angeles. And her friend Susan had invited her to come, and she says, "Do you want to go to this REI Goddesses event?" Now, there's a store called REI, which is like an outdoor recreation store. And her friend Susan was really into kayaking and outdoor sports. So she was like, okay, I'll go to this thing. She thought it was going to be about outdoor recreation. She had no idea it was going to be on real estate investing. So a few days before she goes and looks on the website, she goes, oh, wait, what? But she's like, she thought, she said, I wanted to invest in real estate, but for her, it was something that she thought was going to happen way far down the line. She didn't
Mm.
think that she had enough money or she was prepared. So that was something that she thought maybe 10, 15, 20 years from now, I'll start. She's a pretty
Mm.
young woman. But she goes to the weekend and joins the program. And so during the year, that first year she gets pregnant with her first child, and she's doing different. So the strategies that she started to focus on was short-term rentals. So she started to do short-term rentals and some note investing, but mostly she was doing short-term rentals around where she lived. And and so I talked to her about 11 months in, and we're just a check-in call, and she was about to go on maternity leave, and she was really excited because she said, "I'm so thrilled because I've created enough passive income that after my maternity leave, I don't have to go back to work. I'm not going to
Mm.
go back to work. I have enough passive income. I've replaced my job's income, and now I can be home with my daughter, my new daughter, and I can be the mom I want to be. So I'm just going to manage my short-term rentals and do that. She created that freedom. So
Beautiful.
that I love. Just being able to give yourself that time freedom to be the woman, mother, person you want to be. That is what I live for. That's what
Mhm.
I love.
Yeah. Let's talk about age because I can imagine that more women think, yeah, I don't know if this is for me. I'm still young. I don't need to do this right now.
Or I'm
What
too
is,
old.
or I'm too old. Yeah. So I was going to ask, is there like an ideal age? But I guess there's not. But
Yeah.
what would you advise if,
It's this Chinese sayings like planting a tree. When was the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the
yeah,
next best time? Today.
yeah,
So when was the best time for you to invest in real estate? Like 20 years ago. When's the
mm,
next best time? Like
yeah,
now is the best time. So however
yeah,
you are, you're not going to be any younger than you are right now, tomorrow, next year. And there are and people often ask, what how about this economy? Is this the right time to buy? What about this? And I don't know, the interest rates there's always, oh, it was COVID, but what about there are always opportunities. There may not always be in the same places at the same time. There's cycles, but different markets are in different cycles. So different neighborhoods have different cycles, different asset classes have different cycles, different countries have different cycles. So there's always opportunities. Just you have to know how to look at them. And right
mhm,
now, it's even more important, and I can't speak to all of the different markets in the world, but I know the US mostly. And there, for us, interest rates went up and property values have gone up. It is not as forgiving a market as it has been. So before, when interest rates were so low, when property values were just rising up, but you could get in relatively cheaply, you could make a lot more mistakes and still make money. Now you need to be more, you can't make as many
educated in
mistakes and not
America.
lose, not make money. So you want to have the right education support so that you're making very wise decisions.
Mhm,
There's definitely people are definitely making money right now. There's lots of money to be made. There are opportunities, but you want to do all the right things and
mhm.
be really precise with the numbers. So we can't be afraid of numbers. One of the mantras I love is I love numbers and numbers love me. I
Yeah.
love
There's this
numbers and
book,
numbers love me, baby.
yeah.
Tony Robbins does
There's
this.
this book that is called Love Money, Money Loves You. And this is exactly, I would say this is also something good to read in this context because it is about a lot of women also have this strange relationship with money.
Yes.
Um, and it comes from very far. And it's like money is something dirty. I have a lot of entrepreneurs that do not are very reluctant to ask for the right price for their services because they feel it's too much or they're not worth to ask for that and things
Yeah.
like that. So there's a lot to say about relationship with money. And it's an amazing book. It's channeled basically. It is about
Yeah.
how money is energy and is basically only a transactional thing in terms of value exchange and nothing more. And if you can look at it in that way and in a different way, especially for women, it might become a little bit to deal with money and to go for money. And especially also what you mentioned, the idea that if we make money, we will give it back. We will share
Yeah,
it
we'll
basically and give
circulate
to the
it. Yeah,
community.
I'm a fan of Sarah Crum who wrote that book. She actually gave me a copy, and it's a really powerful book. There are a couple other
Mhm,
books that I would also recommend for working on those money challenges. So there's one, my dear friend and a mentor, Barbara Hewson, who used to go by Barbara Stanley. She has a bunch of wonderful books for women around money, but her latest book is called Rewire for Wealth. So it's
mhm,
really how you can use the brain's neuroplasticity to rewire. You have to you recognize those thoughts. So it's great that you recognize that you have a fear of numbers, but it's recognizing it and then what was the other R? It's basically You take a different action, but I can't remember what that R was. So this, and it has all these wonderful exercises to help you work through it, to find and really shift out of that, and also to deal with a lot of the money trauma. So a lot of the times our beliefs around money have come from traumatic events from our childhood. And
Yeah.
so that one is good. There's another one that similarly works and really helps deal with that. It's called Worthy by Nancy Levin. I've
Hmm.
actually been I'm constantly reading money books and looking at that for myself and then also for my goddesses. And so that's one that I'm looking at right now, and it also has these really great exercises to help you shift your self-worth, because a lot
Yeah.
of times your net worth is a reflection of your self-worth.
Yeah.
So to help shift your self-worth so that your net worth can increase and you can have that freedom that we
Mm.
want.
Yeah, absolutely. One that I recently read, it was given to me, is The Abundance Code. Does that ring a bell? I don't
Oh,
remember the author. It was a
oh,
female author also, with a lot of prompts, also reflection prompts. And it was also very interesting. And as you say, she told her backstory, which was coming from a family that went in a roller coaster on wealth and poverty. Several of these, yeah, different episodes. And so there was no stability, and she had no clue how to think of money and how to understand the relationship between behavior and financial security. Yeah,
yeah.
very interesting. Yeah, we all have our backstories, and they all impact us, not only on the financial side, but that's why we're here for today. So
Yeah.
it is important indeed to understand where your limiting beliefs are coming from and where your attitude towards money and towards investing is coming from. And like you say, it's the start. Yeah.
Yeah, you're all about being smart and conscious. And so it's really important that, like, in order to be smart about money, you need to be conscious of what's running the show under the
Mhm.
surface. What are those beliefs that are working? Because if we don't deal with those, it doesn't matter what you're trying to do on a
Yep.
on the surface, right?
Exactly.
You're just not going to take the actions necessary. You might look like you're being busy, but you're on a hamster wheel until you really deal with
Yeah,
the deep work.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And then
Mhm.
there's also the aspect of manifestation. Is that something that you implement in your program also?
Yeah. Oh, for
Mm,
sure. So
yeah.
that's definitely part of this feminine, just allowing in the ease, the grace, and the flow.
Mm,
So we definitely use visualization, and part of that is getting clarity, seeing yourself as already there, and then so it's a combination of but it's not, manifestation is not just I'm going to sit here and meditate and
and
the keys
visualize.
are gonna just show up in the mail, right? There are It's being able to take that inspired action. So there is, but you have to get quiet, you have to visualize where you want to be, get quiet to receive the inspired guidance, and then take it and
Mm,
allow it that ease.
yeah, beautiful. Yeah. What you can, first of all, of course, be aware of where you need either to scale up or where you need to find your community of support. But how do you get there? If you, because you were talking about different roles, the people with the money, the people with the relationships, the people with the organizational talent or with the strategy. So are there any platforms or other ways, networking forums, where you can start?
Yeah, I'm the real estate investor
Enjoy.
goddesses. That's a good one to start, ladies. Also, there most cities have real estate investor associations. So
Okay.
look for your local real estate investor association and attend those meetings. Then you'll find real estate is a very local activity, right? So you're going
Hmm.
to need your local agents and local bankers and local contractors. And so that, and connecting with other real estate investors in your area, is a really good place to start, to make those connections.
Mm, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. What would be like your best piece of advice to close this session with? What is something that women don't know, are not enough aware of, and has really opened the eyes and moved forward a lot of women that you have been working with? As like one
Yeah.
piece of advice.
So I think one of the piece of advice I would give, and I invite everyone again to go to my website, reigoddesses.com. There you can get a free guide, investing in real estate from $1 to $1 million, investing strategies for every budget and every goddess. And in that, I share 12 different strategies that speak to the three biggest barriers, mental blocks to women moving forward. So one is, oh, I don't have enough money. Whatever that is. However much money you have, there's a belief that you don't have enough to get started. And so I share four low to zero strategies to get invest started making money through real estate. The second is that I don't have the time. It's going to take too much time. I'm busy and I have all this stuff. And so I share four relatively low time strategies. And then the other one is, oh, I don't want to be a tenant. I don't want to have, sorry, a landlord. I don't want a landlord deal with tenants. I don't want to have calls in the middle of the night about toilets. I don't want to evict people. I don't want to have to. So I share four strategies that don't require you to deal with tenants, toilets, termites. I encourage you to go and get that, because one of the things that really helps women open up is when they realize, oh my gosh, I have all of these options and their choices, and all of these things that I thought were a limit to me are not a limit if I
Mm,
choose the right path for me. Understand that there are different ways of doing this, and whatever resources you have or lack thereof, there's a way to get in the game and to find success.
mm, beautiful. So I guess that's a beautiful and also very generous gift that's for women that want to find out more and that run into that wall of limiting beliefs. If you have these three covered and you have strategies, different strategies for these three
Yeah.
beliefs, then I guess there's no way out. There's no way out.
Yeah, I'm gonna put in a link
Hmm.
for for that guide landing
Wonderful.
page here so people can go and
Yeah.
access it.
And it will also be in the comments below if you're watching the replay. Wonderful. So, Monique, we're coming at the end of our session. It was very interesting. It is eye opening. It is shifting beliefs and shifting ideas. And you made it like there's so many opportunities and so many options. And it would be like a bit silly not to invest it or to investigate it, because most of our limiting beliefs can be just blown away like that in the
Hmm.
area of investment. And as we already said in the beginning of this session, it is so essential that we create that financial freedom as women for ourselves, that we do not rely also on other people to do that in a like in a family setting, because there's a lot of things that can happen. And if nothing happens, ideally you are two people together investing, and then the sky's the limit. I am a big advocate together with you to organize this financial freedom. And I thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom and your expertise. And if you're listening and if you're watching, just connect with Monique, go to her website, download the guide, connect with her on LinkedIn so you're in the loop of what she's organizing and setting up, and go there and be free financially. I would say that would be the ideal wish that we have for you. Thank you so much for being here with us and for spending the time and the energy to sit it out until the end, but it was worthwhile. Monique, you were a wonderful co-host here. Thank you so much for all the information, and looking forward to stay connected with you and to learn from you further, because there's a lot more to learn. Absolutely true.
Thank you so much for having me. This was an absolute pleasure.
Wonderful. So we see you next week. Stay here for our power talks. We do them on a weekly basis. Every time there's another go host, and every time there's another topic that is relevant for you as smart, conscious, and high achieving women. So bye for now. Take care.